You are lying in the pitch black silence of your bedroom, and without even glancing at the clock, you already know what it says. It is exactly 3 a.m. again. While the rest of the world is tucked away in deep slumber, you are wide awake, staring at the ceiling, and wondering if your body is starting to fail you. This isn't just a frustrating habit or a random quirk of getting older. It is a specific biological phenomenon that millions of people experience, yet very few actually understand. If you have been tossing and turning during these witching hours, you are missing out on a vital message your system is trying to send you. In the next few minutes, we are going to pull back the curtain on the 5 powerful, often hidden reasons why your rest is being hijacked. Understanding these shifts is the difference between spending your golden years exhausted and reclaiming the deep, restorative sleep you deserve. Stay with us until the very end, because once you see your sleep through the lens of real physiology and psychology, you will realize that you aren't just aging, you are evolving, and there are simple ways to work with your body instead of fighting it. The first and perhaps most significant reason for this early morning wakefulness is the natural decline in melatonin production. Think of melatonin as your body's internal conductor, the hormone responsible for signaling when it is time to wind down and, more importantly, stay down. When you were younger, your brain produced a robust, steady stream of this chemical throughout the night, acting like a heavy anchor that kept you submerged in sleep. However, as the years pass, that anchor becomes lighter. Dr. David Mercer often points out that as we age, our internal chemistry shifts, and by 3 a.m., your natural supply of melatonin can dip so low that it fails to hold you in a restful state. You might find yourself waking up not because of a loud noise or a bad dream, but simply because your brain has run out of the chemical glue it needs to keep you asleep. Take the case of Harold, a 72-year-old who felt he was failing at sleep until he realized his bedroom environment was making this hormonal dip worse. Even a tiny sliver of light from a street lamp or a glowing digital clock can suppress what little melatonin is left. By darkening his room and avoiding screens, Harold was able to signal to his brain that it was still night, turning his frustration into a manageable routine. Another major factor is a biological shift known as the advanced sleep phase. This is essentially your internal clock being reset to an earlier schedule. As we age, our circadian rhythms naturally move forward, meaning we start feeling drowsy much earlier in the evening, and consequently, our bodies decide the day has begun long before the sun rises. You might find yourself nodding off during the evening news at 8 or 9 p.m., which means by the time 3 a.m. rolls around, your body has already technically completed a full 7-hour sleep cycle. This shift is deeply rooted in your biology and can be amplified by the quieter lifestyle that often comes with retirement. Consider Charles, a 68-year-old who thought he had insomnia until he realized his sleep wasn't broken. It was just rescheduled. Because he was eating dinner at 5:30 p.m. and heading to bed shortly after, his body was simply finished resting in the middle of the night. By intentionally staying active a bit later and using bright light in the evening to trick his internal clock, he was able to push his wake-up time closer to dawn, proving that you can negotiate with your internal rhythm. Physical discomfort and underlying health interruptions also play a massive role in these early morning disruptions. As we navigate the complexities of aging, our bodies become less forgiving of things like joint pain, acid reflux, or a full bladder. During the day, you are distracted by movement and conversation, but in the stillness of 3 a.m., a subtle ache in your hip or a slight twinge of arthritis becomes a megaphone for discomfort. For many men, the most common culprit is a bladder that has become less elastic, requiring a trip to the bathroom that fully rouses the brain from its sleep state. Dr. David Mercer suggests that even the medications we take for blood pressure or heart health can have side effects like increased urination or changes in body temperature that quietly sabotage our rest. Eleanor, a 76-year-old, found that her consistent 3:30 a.m. wake-ups were actually tied to the timing of her medication. Once she worked with her doctor to adjust her schedule and hydration, she found she could return to sleep much more easily. These wake-ups are actually your body's way of protecting you. It is responding to a signal it can no longer ignore in the silence. Daily lifestyle habits often work behind the scenes to reshape your sleep rhythm in ways you might not expect. When life becomes less structured, your body loses the external time cues it once relied on, such as a morning commute or a busy workplace. This can lead to a drift where your body no longer knows exactly when the day begins or ends. Furthermore, there is a subtle relationship between your metabolism and your rest. Eating dinner very early can lead to a dip in blood sugar in the middle of the night, which alerts the brain to wake up. Even the afternoon cup of tea or coffee you've enjoyed for years might stay in your system longer than it used to, making your sleep lighter and more prone to breaking at the slightest disturbance. Walter, a 74-year-old retiree, noticed that his habit of napping after dinner was the primary reason he was wide awake at 3 a.m. By adding a short afternoon walk and skipping the evening snooze, he reinforced his body's need for consolidated rest, showing that small adjustments to your daily routine can have a profound impact on the quality of your nights. Finally, we must consider the emotional and psychological restlessness that often surfaces in the quietest hours. The 3 a.m. window is frequently the stage where the mind begins to sort through memories, unresolved thoughts, or a sense of loneliness that is easily ignored during the busy daylight hours. This isn't the frantic anxiety of youth, but rather a reflective, quiet hum of the heart. For many older adults, as social circles change and routines quiet down, the mind uses the stillness of the night to process life experiences, losses, or worries about the future. Gloria, an 80-year-old widow, found herself waking up and thinking of her late husband or worrying about her grandchildren. She eventually learned that her heart was simply asking for a moment of acknowledgement. By keeping a journal by her bed and engaging in a soothing evening ritual like listening to soft music, she gave her emotions an outlet before her head hit the pillow. This kind of wakefulness is a sign of wisdom and depth, not a flaw. When you approach these moments with curiosity and kindness rather than frustration, you begin to see that your body is not your enemy. It is a complex, living record of everything you have experienced, and it deserves your compassion as much as your care.